Yeah, so I'm going live now, and if you're tuned into the YouTube channel now, you should see me because I'm on now.
Okay.
So everybody's like silent, whatever, and we'll get going.
Okay.
All right, everybody, we are here tonight to interview a fine musician, many years already. He is a friend, a great performer, and you should know him. And if you don't know him yet, you will by the time we're done here. And that is the amazing Tony King. And I not only do I have Tony King on here, we have some of his great band members and people that he's worked with, including Ed Green, who has played with many musicians, including the world famous Steely Dan. And we are about ready to bring them in, and various other people who will join us as they identify themselves on air. And we will go, and I will start by letting Tony come on with me and let Tony tell you all about the great projects he is doing and what he's done in the past that makes him so great. And we definitely will be amazed by the stories he has to tell. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have the amazing musician, guitarist, songwriter, Tony King. And Tony, how are you doing today? How are you, Tony?
Well, I got to tell you, I'm doing really good, and it's good to talk to you again. So I'm a big fan of your show.
Thank you very much. That's great.
With John Oates, and I really like the interview you did with Martha Davis. She's a friend of mine, so I thought that would be good. And so,
okay.
When it came time to do the media blitz for the new book, Tony King, Living Rock Music History, when my publicist Elena had reached out to Joyce, we said, yeah, let's do your show. Let's debut this on radio on your show. So we're tickled pink to be here, and talking to you. So, and I got to tell you, we're very excited because the book is selling well all over the world, Latin America, China, India, Russia, all over Europe, UK, America. I mean, it's doing really well. I think that's a testament to Global Rock and the friends I have around the world. But also, I think there's a lot of really good stories in this book that need to be told that maybe people haven't heard before. And it really speaks volumes to the great artistry that I work with today in my supergroup, King Claim. And it really speaks volumes, I think, to the artistry that is involved in this band and this TV show that Joyce Isaacson works on, and Jennifer Walker works on, and Bethany Willow Harris works on. She's in our band. She is standing by in London. Probably, I would imagine, getting her beauty rest as she needs it when she's not writing hit songs next week. She's about to be crowned Miss British Isles on September 6th. I'm just lucky enough to be to have her co-writing songs with me today. Her father, Michael Garrett Harris, is our manager. He's my manager. He manages our supergroup, King Claims, and I just, he's a very wise guy. Since Michael's come on board of King in May, he's really taken us 180 degrees to the toppermost of professionalism. Michael goes way back. He used to work with the guys in Jimi Hendrix's band, Mitch Mitchell and Noah, and then he also worked in the 80s with Simply Red, the guys, and then he also worked with a band called The Alarm. He still does work with Dave Sharp. He worked with the Bay City Rollers, all those guys. So, I mean, that's how we know Duncan Farah. Duncan got in the band through Michael Garrett Harris, because Michael was Duncan Farah's manager. Duncan was in our band, King Complaints. He's a Global Rock producer. He couldn't be here tonight. He's in a recording studio in Los Angeles doing a new track or a soundtrack, so we wish Duncan well. But Duncan said, and I always say this about Duncan, I suspect that guy writes hit singles in his sleep. He's a really great songwriter. Listen to anything he's done with the Basics of Rollers, when they changed the name of the Rollers. He had a big hit record. He wrote Elevator. He wrote with Eric Faulkner. He also wrote Turn Up the Radio. He also had a big hit with Hello and Welcome Home, Folk and Rabbit. He was in the band Rabbit with Trevor Rabin from Yes. They were the biggest band ever come out of South Africa. So as you can imagine, Phil, I'm really lucky to have Duncan Farah in this band with also Bethany Will Harris, Janie Kurtz, who is on location doing a commercial night in Scotland. So Janie has been doing interviews all week with me. She just sends her love to you guys in America. She said, to listen to her new single, she cut a song I wrote with Badfinger called What Can I Do? And she nailed that. She did Churchill, 3 that I wrote. She cut Tony King's Band Playo. She also cut Box Top Picking. By the way, I think that would be my favorite version of The Clock That Keeps Giving because it keeps getting cut by so many artists around the planet. I keep saying, I think Dave Marsh from Rolling Stone called The Clock That Keeps Giving because 20 years on, we have a new record coming out called Tony King's Greatest Hits with 12 hits, in the order starting with the box stop ticking. So, and I don't just think that's to commemorate the 20th anniversary of 9/11 because the song's not about that. But I think a lot of people can relate to that, Bill. What do you think?
I definitely think so. And I'm sure when you're ready to tell us how they can get this great album when it comes out and everything and how to pre-order and such, that will be a great thing. So one of the things that I'd like to ask you is with this book and everything, why now? What was it now that got you say, hey, it's time to write a book, let the world know everything about my so-doings and everything with the music scene and basically your life story in many ways, right?
Well, okay. What happened? Michael Marshall's a good friend. Michael's the president of Sony Pictures Entertainment. Michael Marshall told me a couple years ago, he said, you should put all those stories down there onto paper. You should do like a Wikipedia page. A lot, because me, I'm like Mr. Anti-Technology because we don't get paid for it here in America. And that stuff is blocked in 58% of the world. So I said, I don't care about Wikipedia. And then my daughter said, Dad, can you put your live version of Baby Blue when you playing that thing with Tom Evans and Mike Gibbons? I said, yeah. And so she kind of knocked him in, so I put that out. And then I thought, well, okay. And then Jay Kirk actually talked to me into putting my first video on YouTube. It was a video we shot on my boat, Clock Stop Ticking, up here on Lake John. And so that was cool. And then people liked it. We got thousands of views in just a couple hours. I was like, damn, even though we don't get paid for views, I thought, cool. And so at the same time, my attorney, Kenneth David Burroughs' wife, Erica Jong, she's like one of America's most famous authors. She said, Tony, would you be interested in letting me do a book for you on your life? I said, what life? She said, I'd like to we'll do a rock and roll book, but you can tell how you do global rock all over the world and start with your amazing father who worked with all those famous people. We'll start with, it'll be called Tony King Living Rock Music History. That's where they come from, Erica Jong. She wrote The Fear of Flying, which sold 75 million copies. We were dying, last long time. And so I was just, can you imagine having Erica Jong from New York write your book? And then at the same time, I know Joyce Isaacson has been working as a producer on Global Rock since last January. So Joyce is also an award-winning author. So I said, let's get Joyce, because she's done a book that everybody loves Joyce's book, Wish You Were Here. A rock fantasy on the band I used to play in Badfinger, Tommy Evans' Journey to Heaven. So it's like the feel-good all-time book of all time. And because Joyce and I write songs every day together, if we can, we try to write once every 2 days. So Joyce has become like a little sister to me. She calls me her big brother. So we write songs, and we're always working on Global Rock. And Joyce is always kicking ass on the show. So I said, yeah. I asked Joyce, because she actually writes books. So her and Erica started writing this. They started me on this journey last March. And then and then Michael Garrett Harris joined the journey on Tony King's Living Rock Music History. That would be in May. And then we wrapped it up and we went to press about a month. It's been out since August the 1st. And I got to tell you, to be going into a second printing, now we find out that Dollar Tree, Dollar General, Walgreens, and Walmart want to distribute this book all over the world, in every one of their stores. That's a pretty big thing. But I think it speaks volumes, though, that we're going to second bus, because there's a story about Madonna in there I don't think anybody's ever heard. There's a story about Badfinger there I don't think anybody's ever heard. There's a story about Father and Harry James, Benny Goodman and Dorothy I don't think people have ever heard. And there's also some cool stories about me hanging out with President Clinton, me playing for the Kennedy family, for Teddy Kennedy and 70th, where I met Caroline John and his wife Joan, and we all went up to the Troy Hilton, class president of Rockstar Kennedy family at Troy Hilton. So I started thinking about it. I've done a lot of interesting things, whether it was meeting President Bush and his mother and father, George Walker Herbert Bush and Barbara Bush, First Lady Bush, where I met my attorney, Alberta Gonzalez, that night in '95 at the Opry House. And we've been friends ever since. As a matter of fact, Alberta's worked on Global Rock since August of 2017. He joined in the the same time as Ken Burrows. So I always say to people, we have a right-wing attorney and Alberto Gonzalez, who works with President Bush, and we got a left-wing attorney with Kenneth David Burrows, who was Bill Clinton's best friend, and Erica's best friend with Hillary Clinton. So it all makes sense. There are a lot of interesting people in this book. I thought, right, from Madonna to Bill Clinton, and then I worked for George Martin, his partner, Peter Sullivan at Air UK. Come on, those guys produced, they sold a billion records. I started thinking about George Martin and Peter Sullivan, their company Air. George did all the Beatle records, and then Peter did all the Tom Jones, Lulu Engelbert records. Then they formed a company in 1965. Peter passed away last November, and there was nothing about Air, Bill. So don't forget they had Chris Thomas, who would go on and produce Badfinger. Chris did Pink Floyd, NXS, Queen. Roy Thomas Baker did Queen, and then Cars. But Chris Thomas did the Pretenders, NXS, Badfinger, Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, and then Jeff Emmerich. So I got paid. Think about this, Bill. I got paid a lot of money up front to sign a deal with their company in October 1995. I worked at the Hopkins introduced me. I worked with them from 1995 to 1999. I got paid a lot of money to write and record songs for 5 years. And by the way, Ed Green was on the phone. Ed Green
Yeah.
became part of that studio band with Peter Sullivan. So it became like a super group, yeah?
Yeah. Now, it's funny that you mentioned Ed, because we had him in the green room here, no pun intended. And I have to get him back on the line here because I guess he had dropped off for a moment. So if you want to just bear with me while I try and get him back into our conversation here. So hold on a second. And in the meantime, I got a quick question for you, Tony, while I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And one of the things that always amazed me with musicians, what was the driving force that to get you actively to that level of wanting to practice all these years and all these things till you basically made it in the music world? What was the?
Well, that's a good question. When we were starting out, back in those days, when we were starting out in Detroit,
Okay.
I was in a band with a lot of older guys. My older brother John and my best friend Woody, but they were older. So when I was like 5 years old, what happened? My father was a very famous big band leader. He worked with Gary James, the Dorothys, Good and Goodman, and so my dad would always teach me. He would say, "There's 10,000 bands and 10,000 cities," but he said you have to be better and better looking. He said you have to have star quality and a great voice and be able to write songs. He said it all three. So my father, Jack, started training me. From the second I could open my eyes, my mouth, I was at that piano trying to reach up. And just like my 4-year-old son, Robert Jr. is now, my son, if you ever seen a picture of him, have you ever seen a picture of Robert Jr.?
I can't say I have. I may have, but I can't say for sure.
My son is like that. He looks and sounds like me. It's scary. That little kid can sing like Harry. He does Harry Nilsson without you. I mean,
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
He's got that gene. So I think it's a gene. But he likes to sing and play, and he's written his first song. He's 4 years. He'll be 5 in October. But that's what I did. And so as a consequence, when I was 5, my older brother, 5 years older, they would be down in the basement playing rock and roll, and I would walk down there, and they'd go, "Oh, sing little something that was cute," and they kind of sing. So they let me play, and they taught me my first chord when I was like 6 years old, paperback winter key of G. And so eventually, I would go upstairs. My father would teach me 3 or 4 hours a day. My father trained me on the piano and guitar, and so Dad could play guitar too, and an amazing musician. So what I did, I started to gradually. They eventually, my older brother, let me get into their band, which would become called Straight Up. By the time I was 10 or 11 years old, they were playing high school dances, and I was making $275 a night. Think about it back then, and that was
that's quite an achievement there, Tony.
Well, and then so we graduated from that level to. By the time I was 16, we were playing nightclubs 6 nights a week, 5 sets a night, earning $600 a week back then. I mean, think about it. We became the #1 club act in the city of Detroit. I mean, a long time. We were out waiting for the Romantics, and then we got a record deal with CBS Associated. We got signed at the Circus, which is a very famous. We opened up the first Rush show, by the way.
Wow, that's an amazing story. That's really amazing.
So, yeah, I remember because Geddy Lee was like, "You think we're gonna make it in America?" I said, "Yeah, you're gonna make it." They had just done Fly by Night, and so my manager was a man named Denny McClain. He became our other co-manager. Denny was the last 31 winner for the Detroit Tigers. So,
I was just about to say, it's the same guy that won the Cy Young and helped the Tigers win the World Series in '68.
Can you imagine being managed by Denny McClain when you're a young kid like that? Think about it.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned it because Denny McClain has ties to Chicago. I think at the end of his career, he played for the White Sox, and he also did a talk show here, a sports talk show here in Chicago for a while. So, yeah.
So, all my career, my father, Denny McClain, and Chris Wilson, Chrysler became our manager. Chris put us all in matching outfits. We had these really cool black shirts, brown leather jackets, and red ties. That was 1976. Around that same time, we were going, our first record came out, Oh Yeah, and For You. It did very well in Canada. It did well at 101 Detroit, Rip. It did well at 106. Back in those days, if you had a record out, you go do PM Magazine in Indianapolis, you did the morning show, you play that night at Marcus King, then you move on to Chicago to Park West.
Oh, Park West is a great place to play. If you ever get to play there, Tony, Park West is an amazing venue.
I played Park West.
You have. So then you know what I'm talking about. Park West is terrific. Yeah, Park West.
We became a regional power pop band around the same time when like Cheap Trick had their first record out. Badfinger was not their back together.
Yeah, because like I said, Cheap Trick is phenomenal here, especially in Chicago, because they're from Rockford, which is about 90 miles away. But Chicago has adopted them as locals for the most part. That, you know, when they play here, Taste of Chicago, anything, they get massive crowds, huge. So
what's interesting is that at the same time, we had like I said, we had they put us on the CBC live in Toronto on Sunday evening. It was like Ed Sullivan show in Canada.
yeah,
We went on that show. The next day we sold 75,000 records, and that gave us a hit record in Canada. And so at the same time, our manager wanted us to do a whole. He went to CBS Associated Portrait. They wanted us to do a whole record. So they were looking at producers, and Bob Seger, the piano player, came in, and I said, "Why don't we get Joey from?" I was a Badfinger fan, and somebody said to me, "You guys sound like Badfinger, Badfinger sound like you. Why don't you call Joey up?" So Joey called me up. We hit it off, and I didn't know. This was behind 1979. And then Joey flew into Detroit, and we spent a week. Me and Joey then started writing songs together. I don't think many people know this, but Joe and I have written a lot of songs together. A long time before I ever met Tommy and Mike Badfinger, Joe and I had become fast friends. And let me tell you, Joey was a big star in 1979. He just got back to Tommy to his Airwaves. It was a big hit record out of the box. And so at the same time, Joey then decided to bring the band out to Hollywood to produce our first record. I don't think not many people know that, you know what I'm saying? So,
well, it's news to me, but it sounds fantastic. Because I said we have our ties here to Joey also. He's done a tag for us for the radio station. He knows my wife for many years. I've met him at City Winery here in Chicago when he played back in 2018. So it's been a wonder there. So we definitely have common ties. And now, while we were busy discussing things, I was able to get Ed back on the line. So let me quickly just introduce Ed Green, musician, guitarist, has played with famous bands, including Steely Dan. And I'd like to say, Ed, welcome to this broadcast here, and we're very glad you can join us.
Thank you. I'm not a guitarist, I'm a drummer.
So Ed, why don't you tell us how you got to know Tony and get involved with his current project, Kings and Queens? So,
well, was referred to him when he was living in Nashville, Tennessee, where I'm living now. I've been here, about 22 years.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1999, we were rehearsing to do his album.
No, that time the record came out in 1999. We started working together in 1995.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're talking here over 25 years already. You guys have been working together off and on. That's amazing.
What happened was that started. We needed a drummer. Lisa Carey. Lisa was in my band from 1991, 2, and 3. So Lisa knew Ed Green. I think they worked together on the road with somebody, probably Carter or Eddie Arnold. But Lisa brought Ed in, and Ed brought Brian Wickham in. at Peter Sullivan's place in Nashville, we started cutting tracks for the clock stop ticking back in 1995 and 6.
I didn't remember 95. Well, I didn't get to Nashville until 96.
Well, I mean,
So-
right, Dave Kennedy. So Dave Kennedy played drums on the first part of those sessions, but I think
okay.
he might have came in early '96. Yeah.
All right.
But it was right around the time. But we started. I think we actually did this. Don't hold me this, but I believe that we did the demo for the clock stop ticker. I want to say in March of 1996. If you remember, we went over to Paul Worley's place, the Mice, with the guy from Sony, and we did the track. And Peter took the George Martin his friend. But as you came in and you played on that track, do you remember playing drums in the clock stop ticking?
Yeah, well, I remember, I still see it in my mind's eye, the studio, and seeing you and Lisa singing in the
Lisa Carey.
vocal booth. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember specifically the tune, but I remember rehearsing, and it was all going very well.
Do you remember? Tell them about our friend Brian Wickham, who passed away. Somebody asked me about today's newspaper. Brian Wickham was a great keyboard player. He passed away in 2018. Let's acknowledge him. Yeah, tell them about Brian Wickham.
Well, we lived on the same street when he was like 6 years old, and I was like 10 or 11. That was in the San Fernando Valley in California. And I didn't know that I would meet him later in Nashville, and that he was playing great keyboards. And
My God, was he great. But was that when he was working? Did you know him when he worked with Fields and Cross here? No, he worked with Billy Jack. He worked with a lot of people, Kyle Brown, Peter Asher, and Andrew Gold. Did you know him out in California? Did you play with him in the studios out there?
no, I didn't do sessions with.
Did he do some of your Gary White records or Hall & Oates?
No, I mean the guys that were on Barry White's records was Joe Sample was the guitar player. I mean the keyboard,
right.
keyboard player, and Wilton Felder.
So, did you bring Brian to the band?
What?
Did you bring Brian Wickham into Peter Sullivan's Air Studios in Nashville? I think you did, didn't you?
No. I just remember doing the sessions. I really didn't know who the players were.
We had a lot of people on those sets. You got to remember, I got paid a lot of money to write and record songs for George Martin Company America. So as a recourse, we'd have like 5 or 6 of the best guys in the world in that studio every day. But I believe Brian Wickham was on most of it. I know, but Ed came in 96, and I got to tell you, then Brian Wickham came in. Brian had known Ed in California. Brian worked with Fields and Cross, Hall & Oates. Brian worked with a lot of people, Carl Bob, Peter Asher, Linda Ronstadt. But Brian didn't join the band. Brian became the band leader. And Brian was, like Ed was just saying, he was an amazing piano player. I don't know what else is on the book, but we should acknowledge him. And so, but Lisa Carey should be brought up here. Lisa Carey is an amazing singer, amazing violin player. And she has been in my band since 1991. And she's going to be doing Kings and Queens when we go to the United Kingdom in October. So Lisa is an incredible singer. She's an incredible person. She's worked with everybody, Linda Ronstadt, Carla Bonoff, and Lisa is in Nashville in the studio tonight, but she sends love to you, Bill. So,
that's great. Thanks. I'll send my regards.
Doing more and more tracks, and then Lisa brought in Chris Pelser. Chris worked with Crowded House, Split In, Peter Cetera, a lot of people. But when Chris Pelser came in, that gave me a great keyboard player that could play piano and bass. And so we had Chris and Brian and Ed Green in the same band with Lisa Carey. That was a super group. That's where Kings and Queens really come from. So when me and Edward put Kings and Queens together, we knew that we had to have like a really great female singer because the studio band was called Export E, Export Evans, Export Everything. So we knew that we needed a great female singer. So my manager's daughter is an incredible singer. She sounds like Madonna. She's 24, so we brought Bethany Muller Harris in the thing. And we also brought Janie Kirk, who I've been aware Scottish rock and TV star. At the same time, I should bring in John Barbera because back in 1992, after Joey Mullen, we went out to do our first record in California. Shortly after, Tom Evans had heard a tape that me and Joey did with Mike Gibbons. Mike Gibbons just blown in from Wales. He joined my band in 1981. And then Tommy came over shortly after that at the end of 81. And then me, Mike, Tommy, and then they wanted to get Joey in the band called Badfinger. Joey was doing the guy Paul Hogan from the guy that crashed out Dundee. So oddly enough, I told Tommy I don't want to call. That would have been like being an oldies band if I would have went out and did like a Badfinger thing. Gotta remember, Phil, I was 20 years old at the time. These guys were 36, Joey and Tommy and Mike. So at the same time, Mike was in the band, but I was told Tom Evans was a big Turtles fan because the Turtles were huge in England. So Tommy wanted me to call a guy named Johnny Barbera, who just happened to be on the phone. And then we also wanted to get maybe a female singer into our band at the time called Flipsy. So we're going to call it Free to Pain. Free to Pain was doing a record. And so we wanted to get John Barbera to have two drummers, but we couldn't get Barbera because he's a big rock star. He worked with Jefferson Airplane,
Sure.
Turtles,
Of course.
Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. And so when me and Ed put the band back together, I reached out and called John Barbera. And Mark said, John, you want to come out? We'll have two drummers. It'll be like Jim Calder and Ringo Starr. Only think about it. If you and Ed Green in the same band, it's a super group. And John said, I would love to be in Kings and Queens. And he joined. And it became a royal band. Yeah, John?
Yeah.
Did I say that right? Yeah. I mean, to be in a band with Johnny Barbera and Ed Green, it's like a luxury, Philip. This is
I can only imagine. I can imagine when you guys are out playing live, what it's going to really sound like. It's probably going to be amazing.
And on top of that, we have Duncan Barr, the lead singer for Rabbit, the bass of the road, Bethany Willow Harris, Danny Kerr, and then we have Billy Burnett from Fleetwood Mac. Think about it.
I love Billy Burnett. Also, besides Fleetwood Mac, Mick Fleetwood Zoo. Yeah, and he's been a tremendous guitarist. I like him. I love his music. It's fantastic.
This is becoming the most talked about band of 2021. Number one, because these guys are my brothers. I'm incredibly good friends with Ed Green. We've worked together since 1995, 96, and then John Barbera. But we wanted Johnny in the band in 1981. Tommy Evans wanted him to join Badfinger to play drums. And John couldn't at that time. John, were you a Badfinger fan? Yeah, of course, yeah. So, but you met, but they worked with the Beatles, but you worked with the Beatles, yeah? Or you knew the Beatles? I met the Beatles, I met Ringo, Marty, Lennon. I got a great story about that. So tell us, when you started out, you would have been in what, the Turtles, but you were in a band for the Turtles, right? Yeah, I was in several. Tell us about that. Tell Phil. The listeners would love to know. John Barbera is on the line, and John is a brother.
Welcome, John. John, we're glad to have you join us. John.
Legendary Life of a Rockstar drummer. 20 hit singles. Damn. Maybe everybody now. A lot of people. A lot. You ran out of gas. Oh, wait. We're going back his boat. Oh, Einstein? Yeah, Albert Einstein is sitting in his lap at 3 years old, like my first brush with train. Yeah, and then, how long were you on your first hit record? 16 when you were on a single? Yeah, 16, we had a number 8 called The Genius, number 1 hit. All the way from San Diego to, San Francisco. What's it called? West Coast, it was like a third hit. Yeah. And, did you go, how did you get the Turtles? Tell us about that. Well, Gene Clark first, the drummer, left the band and needed a new drummer, so he recommended me go. And going now, I went down to the audition, and both out, here's the office of Positive, and a bunch of other people. I played 3 songs, and get that drummer. So they did, and the first thing I played was Happy Together, which was the number 1 hit single. And when I met McCartney, he said, yeah, you're not just let Benny Layers and Barry Field had a number 1. Like number 1 spot. McCartney remembered that. He had a sharp banger. I was impressed with that. The guys in Badfinger are a big fan of you, guys. Yeah, that was a great band, man. Beatles for you. What were the big Turtles that tell us how to listen to the song, bro? Well, Happy Together was number 1, and She Ought to Be Was Being number 1. But you wrote the Greatest $10, didn't you? What's that say again? You wrote the Greatest $10. I really think you're I think we figured Happy Together, so that's the biggest song ever. But it was the second runner-up, right? Yeah, we got up there with it. Yeah,
took a lot of airplay.
Johnny makes millions of dollars a year off Eleanor, John. Damn. But you wrote that. Tell us about writing Eleanor.
Yeah, please do.
We were in the Oscar Towers in Chicago.
Yeah.
And we needed to write a hit song.
You needed to write a hit.
So what we sat down.
You mean like when you're out 6 o'clock, we start writing hits together in 2021?
Yeah, I got you. Look at it, think like a shuffle. I got it with a shuffle, so Eleanor became.
Make it up, Phil.
Okay.
Johnny Barbados is still writing hit songs in 2021. Him and I wrote Rock and Rush for their live Moscow Calling record, and Johnny can write great hit songs like Duncan. And see, Silk and Ed Green, Silk and Willow, Silk and Jay, but Johnny is a great writer. So you wrote Eleanor. Tell us about that.
Well, we were up in the Astor Tower. I started writing a song, and we just started writing it. We stayed up all night. We needed to write a hit, and when we could, accept me. So I was there.
Yep.
Did you hear that, Phil?
Yeah, I can hear him, but hopefully the audience can too. I said I can hear everybody, but I want to make sure that the audience can do it. Since we're doing this live, we don't have the monitor on that we normally be listening through.
Yeah. So when you guys wrote that, you wrote that with Flo and Eddie, yeah, with Howard and Mark Bowman?
Howard Mark, that's it.
And then, how many hits did the Turtles have after that?
We had 7 hits altogether, 10 altogether.
10 hits, wow. And then what happened? Didn't you join, you did a band with your own band, right?
Yeah, I did a thing with the Joel Scott Hill, we got Dr. John we have also keyboard players.
Yeah.
Both my Shepherd who produced. We had a shop and the Doors. He was pretty, some of his best album he made.
Yeah.
Great album, the Joel thing, but I couldn't play shop bass. It was a great album.
And around that time, you got a call from your friend Neil Young?
Neil Young, well, I said, but yeah, I don't like that. They lost, Neil didn't like Dallas Taylor. He said, he goes where I go.
Yeah.
The Dallas went, and I got in there. And it was great. It was a great ride.
What's the name of the band?
I played on Southern Man in Ohio on the library.
But what was the name of the band? Crosby, you joined, what's that?
Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
Of course.
Wow, what year?
That would have been, I don't know, what was that, 72, 3?
You played on all the big hits, right?
Well, I played on Southern. I played in Ohio. I played in the library and Southern Man and Carry On.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, that's a huge song. Yep, definitely.
Live out. Like crazy. Neil Young's music was like Bob Dylan. It's like,
Yeah.
I played at 2 Grand Nationals. I played a White Album with Ringo. Steven Stills' White Album. Did a Crosby Nash album.
How'd you like working with Ringo?
Yeah, he's great. He's a good drummer. He's solid,
I think my favorite record you did though was the one you did with the Everly Brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were good, man.
I mean that tipped my hat to. But then, how'd you get? Did Graceland call you, or how'd you get that band with Jefferson Starship?
Dave Crosby was real good friend with Grace Paul Cantor.
Yeah.
So they said they lost their career. She looked at me. I'm going to send Barbados over and check them out. So I went there, and Jack and Yorma were great leads to join Hot Tuna. And I jammed with them. They loved my drumming.
Wow.
Stayed with the band for a year or two. 2 more albums, 2 more tours because they liked my drumming. And the Iceberg left, and then it became, so we named Jefferson Starship. Oh, man, I want to be in a group called Starship. That's a great name. So that went on to have 4 hits, and Jefferson Starship then became the Starship with Pinky Promise later. So,
what was the chemistry like between you and Ray Slick and Paul Cantor and Marty Collins?
Well, we call them the Big Three. Chris, Paul, Marty, and all that. They were big stars.
Yeah.
And
but lead that song, write song, one of the big hits.
Big City. It would be on
Your song, so you had the big hit. Big City. What year? 1973.
Okay. Hold on a second, guys. We had some little tech difficulty here. Just give me a second here, and we'll get you back on the air. Ed, you're fine, but Tony, I got a situation here with the phone a second, so just bear with me. So let's see. Okay. Let me see. Hold on a second. Hold on. It looks like we dropped for a second here. So Ed, now I'm going to ask you while we're waiting to get Tony back on the line to see if we can do that here, because I'm going to need some little tech help here because Tony got cut off for a second. So if Tony's listening, if he can give a call back, we'll get him back on the line here. So yeah, Tony, I just got to get you on speaker. I had to switch the lines here. So hold on a second, and let me get you on speaker here. Hold on a second. Okay. There, Tony, can you hear me now?
So Johnny.
Yeah, we got you back on. Thank you very much for holding the line there, Ed. Oh, we got Tony back on. Okay.
Ed, were you a fan of? Let me ask you an interesting question. But when John was doing those big records with Jefferson Airplane and Jefferson Starship, were you aware of Mr. Johnny Barbette at that time? Ed?
Yeah. Can you hear Tony, Ed? Can you hear Tony?
Yeah.
Ed, were you aware of Johnny Barbette's great drumming when you were doing those Barry White records in the early 70s and hauling up? Did you know Johnny was an Airplane and Starship at that time?
No, I didn't know by name, but I sure liked his drumming.
I mean, yeah. I think, and then Johnny, were you aware of Ed Green's work?
Oh, absolutely, man. He's a great drummer. Love his work, man. He's great. Him and Kellner are like some of the best student drummers I've seen around.
Yeah, Jim Keltner, that's your friend, Jim Keltner. Yeah, he always says you're like the real deal, you know?
Yeah, Kellner's great, man.
But Keltner will tell you, when he heard the clock stop ticking, Jim Keltner said, that's what I've come to expect from Edward Green. Greatness. He said, Ed Green's a great person, but he said, I expect great things from Ed Green. That's what Keltner said about it.
He's a great time. He's a drummer. That's important.
And I was listening to Nancy Rocker today, Ed, and you start that song out with the drum solo. I mean, damn, I'm going, wow, that's a great triple slide guitar thing with me and Chris Pelser. But you know what? The harmonies are great, but Ed Green's drumming, I mean, this is what, like Jim Keltner said, this is what we've come to expect from Ed Green. So you started doing those Starship records. What year did you guys do Miracles, the big number one?
76, man.
Yep, 76. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, because that was my freshman year of high school, and that was just a great song that lasted through the ages. Definitely.
Number one hit single.
Now, Ed, what were you doing? Ed, what were you doing in 1976?
Well, I had done a couple of hit records with Barry White in 73 and 74.
Yeah, those must have been amazing times, Ed.
Yeah,
Damn.
those were the fine times for me. In 73, he had a number one record with Love Theme. It was an
That's right.
instrumental.
Ed Green, you played on Love Theme for Love Unlimited.
Wow.
Yeah,
Congrats, Ed. That is just a fantastic song. Love it.
Yeah. And the arranger, Gene Page, who helped Barry, he was my main mentor, got me into the business, and I worked for him more than, most other people in LA. But I remember how I met him. I was writing tunes with in 68, before I started doing sessions, I was doing demos and writing tunes with Craig Durkee, and he was working for Don Costa Productions, who had his office on Sunset Boulevard.
Right.
And we wrote 4 tunes, and Don let us go into the studio, and Durkee called Gene, who he knew Gene Page. And on this demo session, there's this black guy in the back of the recording studio playing congas with this big black leather suit and a leather jacket. And it later was Barry White.
Wow, what a story.
Gene would get him on demo days or anything he could to make some money. He he was walking the streets of Hollywood, just trying to get his tunes recorded. And
Now, did you know Barry White was going to be a big star at that time, Ed?
Yeah, because one of the things that we do on the video show on the side of things here on this Sound of Good Tunes radio here, where you guys are being fed live right now, is a couple times a year we do a theme show called Sounds of Soul, where we play some Motown videos, Stax, Atlantic, CBS stuff. You know, it's great. And a lot of times we feature Barry White in those cases, because Barry White, James Brown, Smokey Robinson, Stevie Wonder,
Yeah.
etc. You know, and we just did a show. I think the last one we did of those, I think, was the last Saturday night of July, because we do it 4 times a year when there's a 5th Saturday night.
Right.
So we do that. And obviously here is a white guy from Chicago playing soul music, but if it's in you, you play it, you know, and that's for sure. So, you know, right?
But didn't you do the first Hall & Oates record on Sarah Smile also?
Sarah Smile, Hall & Oates.
Oh,
Yeah.
a classic.
I
And
did,
it's funny you mentioned it, Ed, because my wife and I were going to see Daryl and John next Thursday night here in Chicago. They're coming, and I've seen them many a time. And also, like as Tony knows, that I've met John. And John is great and stuff. And I've also, a friend of mine is their keyboardist, Elliot Lewis, who also was with the Average White Band. He plays live from Daryl's house, and Todd Rundgren. And also that their current sax player, Mr. Casual, Charlie DeShant, he was my online sax teacher during the pandemic last summer. So I took 6 sax lessons from him during the summer. So it's really great that you mentioned Hall & Oates, because, like I said, between Tony and you, Ed, I've had so many connections. It's just amazing. So
Yeah,
You did Rich Girl too, right? You did Rich Girl?
yeah, Rich Girl, those two.
yeah.
How was that cut? How was Rich Girl cut?
What's that?
How was Rich Girl cut, Ed?
Well, the thing is that I've heard Daryl mention that Rich Girl is actually about a guy in the music industry, one of the management people that they were dealing with at the time, and that he just changed it around for women because it made more sense in a song at that time to, you know,
But I
do
mean,
it.
that,
Right.
when you cut the track, was that cut the bass and drums? Who was the bass player on Rich Girl?
Well, Chris Bond, the producer, he brought them to L.A. from Philadelphia, I think.
Uh-huh.
And Chris wrote these parts out.
You want it. So you cut it like that. You cut the track, or do you have a click track? How you cut it?
Yeah, and Chris Bond wrote everything out. I mean, all those fills, the beginning of the record, you know, I read those. And,
Now I know that you did the Motown Like This thing, but tell us about doing the Smokey Robinson records, Cruising and Being With You, because those are 2 of my favorite Ed Green records, man. You did those, yeah?
Yeah, I did Cruising.
Wow, that's great. We love it. We play it cruising on our station and everything, along with a lot of other Smokey tracks, and that's a great song. So, so kudos there, Ed. Ed, the more I'm getting to know you, and now when I sort of listen to some of those tracks, it's I'm probably going to say, hey, wow, we had Ed on with us, along with Tony. Okay, of course, Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny did silver threads and gold nails for Linda Ronstadt, man.
Yeah, I know. Linda, it's just very, very sad now that she's had to basically retire from music, but her body of work speaks for itself. Obviously, Rock Hall of Famer and everything. It's just amazing. My connections here, the stories that you guys could tell, it just having each of you individually would be just this thing, let alone all 3 of you on the same call here. So
I think, one of my favorite records that Ed did, I'll come back to Johnny, is I think I love Rhinestone Cowboy, the Glenn Campbell record. You want to tell us about Glenn?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
How was the record done? Rhinestone Cowboy, Ed?
It was just a rhythm section, and you know, most of the songs that I recorded, the artists weren't there. You know, it's just an arrangement. They would come in later.
You were telling me the other day you went and hung out with Glenn Campbell's house, yeah?
Yeah, he invited me to his house, and it was an incredible house with my wife at the time, and we had a good time. But there were other times in the studio. One time he did produce one of his albums. I don't remember which one.
Glenn Campbell he worked in the Wrecking Crew with Johnny's friend. He worked with those guys that John worked with.
Yeah, I mean, this is amazing too, because not many people know, but more people know in recent years that don't remember that Glenn Campbell at one time played with the Beach Boys back in the like I think around '64. So yeah,
he was a great session player.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Back in the 60s.
Tell us about working with Donna Summer for a second, Ed, because she was a superstar that you loved. You know, we loved her.
I love that hit she had. That was a great hit.
What Donna Summer?
I did Last Dance.
Wow, Ed did Last Dance.
Wow, so diversified there, Ed. I mean, between Barry White and Donna Summer and Steely Dan, you're just all over the place in a good way, of course. But it's just an amazing set of artists to work with there, Ed.
Now, Ed, when you did a Marvin Gaye record, right? Or live, you toured with Marvin Gaye, yeah?
That's funny you mentioned Marvin Gaye, because his 50th anniversary of What's Going On this year just passed, and that album is like my favorite Marvin Gaye album, and it's easily one of my top 10 favorites. It's just so phenomenal that
I did a live album with him. In Oakland.
You did a live record. Was it Ray Parker Jr. in your band?
1974. Gene Page assembled a great rhythm section and orchestra to back Marvin live in Oakland, California.
Wow.
We had to rehearse.
And then, John, tell us about doing Ohio with Crosby, Stills, Nash Young. 10 soldiers and 10 calls. Tell us about that.
It was a political song, and it got to number 5 in the nation without 70% of the airplay. Yeah. It was political. People wrote it on a Monday. Recorded it on Wednesday. Was on the airways on Friday because of David Geffen. So powerful.
Was that right at the time when Geffen asked you to join a new band called The Eagles?
The Eagles who were that's when I was with CSNY. They were the biggest group in the world at the time. Right. I'm about to go with some unknown group. Yeah. David Geffen leaned into my face. You're going to really be big and they want you. Yeah. Sorry, David.
No. So, Joe, can you imagine how exciting it is to have these two great drummers together on one stage? These guys have done 300 hits between. Think about it.
Wow. You know.
And it's almost, to think about it, it'd be worth $100 a ticket to see Ed Green and John Barbada on the same stage with all, with me and Billy and Duncan and Willow and Janie. I mean, think about it. It's a great band.
I said, I'm sure when it comes together, that sound is going to be phenomenal. It's really going to be something to remember.
Yeah. And but what's ironic is, going back to the Badfinger days, these guys wanted Barbada to come in Badfinger, which is interesting. He was working with Rita Coolidge, but so it didn't work out. But all these years later, I always knew that. So, I mean, I was always I was watching a Turtles documentary last spring. And I said, wow, who's the guy that's flashing his drumsticks in the air? I go, this guy looks like a rock star. Of course, he is a rock star, John Barbada. I forgot that was, then I thought, wait, that's Barbada. I forgot that he was in Jefferson Airplane, Jefferson Starship. I thought he was also in Crosby, Stills, Nash Young. So I called him up, and he was just a regular guy. And he says, yeah, we shared the same vision for Global Rock. He got what we were doing, and so he joined the band last spring. And I got to tell you, it's become a super, super group. And
without question, there, Tony, that without question, it sounds like it's an amazing super group. So I mean, even just on paper here, but I imagine when all the voices and the musicians and everything come together, it's just like similar to a wall of sound. Not to paraphrase it's the Phil Spector sound, but I'm sure in its own right, it's its own wall of sound in my mind. Basically, what you're describing it.
Yeah, if you if you listen to the Clock Stop Ticking record, there's a lot of stuff on that because we use triple slide guitars and triple harmonies, and George Martin did singers. It's like a Beatle record. I think the reason that 20 years after it was released, the Clock Stopped Ticking being reissued 20 years to the date, I think that's a big testament because it came out in 2001, and 20 years later, certainly on the anniversary of now. I think the reason people are cutting so many songs that I've written has to do with the Clock Stopped Ticking. And again, I think somebody was asking me at USA Today, they said, where'd you get that line Clock Stopped Ticking? I said, the day Tom Evans died, the guy from Badfinger that I work with, somebody asked me from Detroit News, they said, do you have any comment about your friend committing suicide from Badfinger 2 hours early? I said, yeah, that house is now empty, that cupboard's bare, and that clock has stopped up, and that clock has stopped ticking, no further comment. And that was it. And so I had remembered that line, and so I put that on tape one day at Peter Sullivan's, and he goes, oh, all right, mate, go out and refine that line and that minor thing that you do. It's like a Paul McCartney song. I remember he said it's like a Paul McCartney, because Peter worked with Paul, the Magic Mystery Tour, a lot of stuff with McCartney. And he said, now go finish that. I did. I brought it back in. Ed Green came in the next day with Lisa Carey and Chris Pelser and Dave Schmidt, and we cut a master rhythm track. And then they started layering it up with strings and more slide guitars. I think that record sounds like a Beatle record because really it is. You think about it. George Martin did strings, Peter Sullivan.
It's George Martin. Are you kidding me? It's not some production level.
Well, I mean, but Peter did it. John Peter was too. So, I mean, I don't think enough great things have been said about Peter today. But Peter Sullivan, he produced It's Not Unusual to Be Loved. Peter produced
Tom Jones, yeah, Tom Jones.
Do you have any memories of Peter, Ed?
What's that?
Do you have any memory of Peter Sullivan?
Peter Sullivan, Ed.
Yeah, I remember the name for sure.
But do you remember how he was a real, old kind of fatherly, English producer?
No, not really.
Right, but I think because Peter he was mainly a 60s, he mainly did Beatles, Peter and Gordon, Lulu and Tom Jones and Engelbert, by the way, who sold 100 million records. But I think because you were doing more R&B stuff on the West Coast, you would have been, so you wouldn't have faced it. But I mean, for me as a Beatles fan, to be around him and George, it was like, are you kidding me? I'm getting paid to write songs and record. I had an artist development deal. I mean, that was a great thing about Peter Sullivan is that we could try anything, and we often did. But I'll say this about that record. When I got the call that they're going to put out Tony King Greatest Hits, I was like, wow. And then they started naming the song up. Nancy Rocker, What Can I Do? Ed Green played on both those. After the Game, Ed Green played on that. The Clock Stopped Ticking, Ed played Lover Money is going to be his Greatest Hits record. There's 5 big hit records off one record all over the world. Now, what's interesting about the Clock Stopped Ticking record, it came out in 2001. The record company, BMG Germany, ZYX, they released it in America without a contract. It was selling like hotcakes overseas in Europe and so in Russia. And so what happened, they released it here without a contract. It went to every record store, Tower, Blockbuster, Best Buy, Cats Music. And so Garth Brooks' attorneys, Gordon Martin, Harrison Jones, sued the record company. They halted a record that was climbing. It would have climbed into the U.S. chart at number 50. They killed the record, Bill. I said, damn, this is like church. At the same time, somebody in China and somebody in Russia, they were importing records of the Clock Stopped Ticking into China and Russia. At the same time, I got invited. I did my first tour of Russia in 2002, Bill. I touched down in Moscow Sheremetyevo Airport. There was a line of cars a mile long, lined up along the main corridor and what's called Wilb Circle, the Wall Street of Moscow. They were waiting to see me. I walked into a restaurant with Dmitry and Elena Sokolov, her brother Dmitry Sokolov. I walked in this big restaurant on Ring Circle in Moscow. I'm not kidding you. Dmitry walks in. He's got a bunch of my Clock Stopped Ticking records, Ed, and he goes, turn that record off. He goes, I don't own that. He pulls out my record. He says, put this in. They put it in. They start blaring it over the nicest restaurant in Moscow. He said, we own this. I was like, damn, And so that kicked off a long, friendly relationship with my girlfriend at the time, Elena. And so we kicked that off. And guess what? I went back the next year and we did another tour in Russia back in 2003. And that was even a bigger tour. So when you can imagine the excitement when we got asked to do a live record of all new songs in Moscow's Red Square on June 12th of 2022 with Kings and Queens. We're doing a live record called Moscow Calling of all new songs that me, Ed Green, Johnny Barbera are writing with Willow and Janie and Duncan of all new songs. That's going to be like a historical first, yeah, Phil?
I think so. I would say so. Definitely.
So, I mean, me and Barbada, we wrote a song the other night called Rockin' in Russia, and he just nailed it. I mean, it was a rockin' song, and we wrote that in what, about an hour, John?
Yes.
The old hit writer, he goes, let's do a Chuck. Johnny goes, let's do a Chuck Berry type thing. So we did it, and we nailed it. I mean, it's a testament to Barbada that he had that rhythm in his head. He goes, no, try this, Tony. He goes, try that. I came back and he goes, try this. And I started strumming. He goes, no. He goes, that's it. He goes, it's rocking in Russia, not rocking around Russia. Johnny had the line rocking in Russia. So we took that line. Well, hanging out in London is way too long. Hanging out in Paris brought me down till we headed back to Russia. And he goes, no, we headed back to Russia where the women aren't so fine. Because he thought Elena was good. So we wrote that, and then and about 25 minutes later, we had the entire song done, Phil.
Wow, that's just quite a story there, and I'm sure the song is pretty amazing.
Hang out in London, way too long. Barbara goes, no. Hang out. He goes, slow it down, Tony. Hang out in London. Then what did you say, John?
Yeah, more of a Chuck Berry style.
Chuck Berry. Goes, hang out in London, way too long. Hang out in London, brought me down till we headed back to Moscow. The women like wine. We hang out in Russia. She was gonna make me fine. We've been rocking in Russia for you to stay. Then we gotta go to the chorus, man. We're rocking in Russia. And it goes at it again. We're here to stay. Just like that, the song was done in what, 28 minutes we had done, and 53 minutes the entire song was written. So, Rockin' Russia from Kings and Queens, Barbada King, Ed Green, new song for the Moscow Calling record. And then the other day, I had a friend of mine, Sasha, her husband was killed in Helmand Province, Afghanistan, about a week and a half ago now. I was really upset, so I wrote a song called The Last Days of Rome. Johnny said change it to Afghan Tears, so I did. And then me and Johnny came back and we went, I'll try to do it again. It's called Afghan Tears. Sasha, this morning, as the Washington came down, the New York Times said that is dead, but I see him every day. The last and then we wrote that song just like that.
Wow, that's just very impressive.
But
Very
Barbara
impressive.
said, try to find the New York Times said God is dead, but I see him every day. So we wrote that line, you know what I'm saying?
It sounds like Bob Dylan's kind of style.
Yeah, it definitely
so-
sound. Yeah, I said it felt the tinges there of my back pages a little bit. So just be careful, guys. We don't want any.
And so then Willow said, and Janie Kirk said, in the last days of the world, we all got down to play. In the last days of Rome, in the last days of Rome, we all got down to play. In the last days of Rome, like that, we had that line in the last days of Rome. We all got down to pray in the back line. Sasha cried this morning as her husband flew away, got blown up in a bomber. And then the next line was, the New York Times said God is dead, but I see him every day. I'm alive. And that's how this thing came with, in the last days. Just like that, the song came together. The last days of Rome turned into Afghan Tears. And we're going to cut that in the Moscow Calling record, didn't we? Yeah. So, I mean, this is what we do. We write songs. I think we called Ed Green and asked him for some lines. So Ed's got a co-write. We all work together. All the Kings and Queens, we all write songs together. Janie Kirk will call in. She'll have some lines, and we'll take it back to Willow. We'll all write songs. Duncan might call in, but we're always writing songs in this band. Okay?
That's work together. Work.
Yeah. So it's So I mean, it doesn't matter what we're doing. We're always writing songs. That's exciting. When you're in a band with these kind of cats, when you're in a band with these kind of great people, it makes you be greater. You see what I'm saying?
Definitely, Tony.
So it's like, and so what's going on in America we are doing a major league announcement this week. Kings and Queens are doing what we call Plan B, which is Plan Britain, and we're calling it a return. We're calling it Return on the Mayflower to England, because all our dates, a lot of dates have been canceled, so it's very hard to find venues. Like we were talking to a friend of Johnny's from the old days yesterday. He wants to have us do Oklahoma, Texas, dates, but we can't because he can't have shows because COVID's so bad. So what we're doing is our manager, Michael Garrett-Harris, is booking. He's just booked the UK concert tour of Scotland, Wales, England, Ireland, and then we're going to do that in October, November. So get back October, November, December. And then we're going to go to Europe in January and February. And then we're going to go to Turkey in April, and then Denmark, Greece, Spain, and Italy in May. And then we're going to go to Russia to do the Moscow Calling live record. At the same time that's going on, Nick Rosen is an award-winning filmmaker, and he started filming our Kings and Queens documentary. He got you last week on film. Yeah, Nick Rosen?
Oh.
Is Ed there?
Yeah, Ed's still here. Ed's on the line. Definitely. Go ahead, Ed.
Did you film your documentary part for Nick Rosen last weekend?
Did I film documentary?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so you filmed your part last week, right?
Nick Rosen, yeah, nice guy. Yeah.
Okay, so because he's going to film John Barbetta this week. He's got Willow and Janie Kirk. He's going to film them at Abbey Road doing some additional vocals on Fox Stop 60. But do you, you filmed your part last weekend?
Oh, I think it was 2 weekends ago. Yeah, Saturday.
Okay. So to bring your viewers up, what's going on? We're doing a documentary. Nick Rosen did the thing on Leonard Brezhnyav's daughter was a big thing that was on 60 Minutes. He also did Chinese Billionaire, and that was an award-winning film. But he's also done a lot of stuff on Off the Grid. So Nick is doing an in-depth look at each member of Kings and Queens. As you can see, there's some pretty exciting people in this band. There. What do you think? So we're doing a documentary right now, and then Johnny, you're gonna film your part next week, right?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
And so what we're gonna do is then we're gonna be filmed in rehearsals. We're now gonna film in London because the band's headed over. The entire band is heading over to London. So you come back. So we're gonna be rehearsing in London, and we're gonna be kicking off the tour in London also. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. When's the last time you played London there, Johnny?
Oh wow, it's been a while. Back in with the Starship. Okay, we played this. Check this out. Turtle got off the plane, and it was this Rolls Royce and Turtle. We jumped on the thing. We couldn't believe it. And it turned out to be the Beatles Rolls Royce. So anyway, we go to the Dorchester Hotel. We end up going to the speakeasy, and we go walking in there with our entourage. And the Beatles were in there. Paul McCartney, they were all there. Clapton and Hendrix was just coming up the ladder. I'm sitting down. I look over to John and Ringo. And I said, oh, man, I knew they were road managers, so we introduced ourselves. We're drunk on $400 bottles of French red wine. And they're like son and acid. So I'm sitting between John and Ringo, kind of frozen, not knowing what to say.
We're gonna cut this song. Hang on for a second. Philip, we're gonna cut this. In the last days of Rome, we brought us down to play. In the last days of Rome, we see it every day. The New York sunset got his blood, I see him every day. We're gonna record that in London. We're gonna record 3 new songs there for the new Kings and Queens record, Out of Fashion, that will be edited today. But yeah, that's a pretty powerful song. Afghan Tears, Last Days of Rome. And again, that's a testament. When you're working with a guy who's a poet and a rocker like John Barbetta, Ed Green, it makes you take your songs to the next level. Sometimes it's actually stunning. I mean, I have to pinch myself there, Philip, to think that I'm in a band with 2 of the greatest artists in American history. Think about it,
Wow.
And so, and then to add on this great vocal power with Duncan Farrar on vocals, he made some great records with the Rollers. He sang Leo Knows It, had 4 hits, and then Willow, and then Janie Kirk. I mean, Janie's a big Scottish rock star. She's a big Scottish Sky TV star. What do you think about Janie Kirk there, guys? What do you think about her, John?
She's a rocker, man. She's hot.
So I mean, Johnny, he thinks she's like Joan Jett. I mean, she's an incredible singer, yeah. And then we also have Bethany Will Harris. She's 24, but she sings like Michelle Phillips. She's an incredible young talent. And then I got to tell you, with me, her, and Duncan, it's like Wings, Paul, and Denny. This is a great band. Kings and Queens. The reason I think people are so excited about this band is because you got all these different fan bases to draw. You got the Airplane fans, Starship fans, Turtles fans. Johnny was in all those fans, but you got Ed Green, Steely Dan fans, Hall & Oates fans. You got my Badfinger fans, and then you got my Clock Stop Ticking fans. And so you add that all together, and you put Duncan's Rollers fans in there.
Don't forget Fleetwood Mac.
Let's not forget Fleetwood Mac. So I mean, you got all
Definitely, yeah, Billy Burnett. Yep.
So I mean, and then whether we're doing rock and Russell, but yeah, we are always writing new songs, and that's the great thing about the TV show we're doing, Global Rock. We actually write and record new songs on live TV each week, so it's very, very exciting, to say the least. And
this is a very high curve. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody else said it, man, go, oh, okay, well, that's all right. But when John Barbetta says it, let me tell you, every band this man has joined has had a #1 hit. He joined the
Midas Touch there. Okay. Yeah, Midas Touch.
Johnny, he joined the Turtles. They had a #1 hit with Happy Together. He joined Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. They had a top 10 hit with Ohio. He joined Jefferson Starship, or Airplane there, Starship. They went to #1 with his song Big City, but then they went to #1 with Miracles and Count on Me. And, that's
Red Octopus, 5 million albums.
Red Octopus, there you have it. Red Octopus is considered one of the top 10 greatest rock records of all time. And this is a man who co-produced, wrote songs on it, and played in that band, the Jefferson Airplane, Jefferson Starship. But, I mean, think about it. They have that much rock and roll history in one band. This band is like a rock and roll history book. This is like Tony King's Living Rock Music History, only we are living rock. We are walking in rock music history, back, front, and future. You see what I'm saying, Philip?
Yes, definitely.
So, but yeah, I mean, so that's it. I mean, and then, it's because I lived in Europe for off and on, I've made my living. I've lived out of Amsterdam, Hilversum since 2001. I really was relocated there when John Namalvi, Clear the Voice, became my manager with Ron Von Haren. And then Jeffrey Beals, my American manager, we moved over there, and we started working on Global Rock Day, and then Peter Sullivan came to George Martin, and everybody moved in I had a 4-story house in Hilversum, 20 miles outside of Amsterdam. We worked on Global Rock every day of the week. We did a pilot back in 2006, which is a songwriting show back then. I went back to America in 2010, and then we changed it around, and it became more of a songwriting recording show. And then by the time I met Michael Marshall in 2017, he said, well, what's so different about this? So the Sony TV department told me and Ed Green, they said, add this in. So we added in a little bit. We write some songs. Now we have 2 hosts in 100 countries. They pick their own artists. So we do a bit of jamming part 2. We do a little bit of songwriting. And part 3, we do a little bit of Don Kirshner's and concerts. So if Don Henley's on, he'll do New Kid in Town. Everybody else will join in because he's Don Henley. And part 4 of Global Rock in 100 countries, we then record a new song we just wrote in part 2. We released that record into America and 100 other countries at the end of the show, along with the other 100 songs that are recorded that week. And then at the end of 13 weeks, Philip, we have the people of America, England, China. What's that?
We have a winner. I did it 13 weeks.
Yeah. Thank you, Don. At the end of every 13 weeks, every country picks their favorite song and artist, and that artist, if it's China, it could be Lil Lechan, or Nikita Gandhi, they advance to Paris, France, and we have a final in week 14. The top 60 vote getters then advance to top week 15. The top 20 vote getters are then, they go head to head. Everybody plays about a minute of their song. The people at home around the world, they vote for their favorite song and artist. It could be Vic Runga from New Zealand, 3 million people. Or it could be James Zhang from China, 2 billion people. It could be Nikita Gandhi from India, or it could be Paul Stelling from Romania. We don't know because yeah. I mean, I think that is the crux of the show, and so it's like Greg Abbott, one of our young producers. Gregory was saying the other day. He said this show is, you're like Simon Cowell, and this is a lot bigger than Simon Cowell because we're in 100 countries. We write and record 13 new songs. That's 1,300 new records every season. Philip, that's 5,200 new records in a 4-season year. You see what I'm saying?
Wow, your self-sustaining music industry in a nutshell there, huh? So,
Well, I think what I've done, I think I brought living rock music history from a child as a 5-year-old reaching up to piano to working with these great guys like Barbada and Ed Green, Johnny Barbada. I think all these years later, don't forget Frida Payne's worked on this show. We got Greg Abbott Jr., Sherry Payne. We got all these great people, Bonnie Bramlett. We got all the greats working on the show. I mean, think about it. But in every country, we write and record a new song every week. Well, that in itself, that's 13 new songs per country. And then that times that by 100 countries, that's 1,300 new records a year. That's why the president of Sony Pictures got involved. Hell, Bill, people that do motion pictures, Michael does big films. He does like, he did Iron Man, he did Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3. Michael did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think Michael saw this show, and he said to me when he called me in '78, that Simon Cowell said a good run, it's now Tony King's song. He saw the vision of global rock. He knows this is a $1 billion TV show. Doug Proctor is the only way I know to do it. And so, Edward, you started working on Global Rock in what, 2018?
Yeah, we started working together.
okay.
So Ed, can you explain? We have great artists from all over the world. Anything you want to add? Did I miss it?
Yeah, anything you'd like to add there, Ed?
Well, I'm just ready to rock. I'm ready to go.
And hopefully audiences everywhere will be ready to hear you guys and head to the arenas and stages to see a great band.
Yeah. Well, I mean, don't forget this band is a house band for Global Rock America, but there's going to be 99 other Kings of Queens, right, Johnny?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think about all the groups that had 2 drummers. This could be the best 2-drummer combo.
I mean, we got the Allman Brothers. Who else? We got Keltner and Ringo. What other people do it? What other guys?
And the Doobie Brothers.
Yeah. And so we have all these great bands, and I think that adds the magic. I think it's going to be a wonderful time for all. Ed, do you want to add anything that I missed?
It's gonna be great. We're gonna rock.
Sure sounds like it, guys.
Yeah.
All right, Phil. Hey, this has been great, man. It's gonna go all over the world. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I gotta tell you, I mean, I think I summed it up when I said I'm working with. Don't forget though, John Barbada is a great songwriter. I can't understate it. Ed Green is also a great drummer. When we were doing the Clock Stop Picker record, Ed helped me on a couple songs. He helped me on Love or Money with Lisa Carey, but he also helped me on Call My Name with Eddie Short. Ed Green is a great songwriter too, so that's got to be stated. You know, Ed Green.
I said you've introduced me to rock history here, Tony, with everybody involved here. So it's quite a collection there of musicians you've brought together for this great project.
It is. I think it's a really eclectic group of people, don't you?
Absolutely, no question.
And then I think with all the craziness going on in the world today, I think at the end of the day, the reason Clint Eastwood loves this show, the reason Clint Eastwood called me was because he said, Tony, because I've got so many songs that I've written, cut in this year. He heard Wendy Salka doing the Clock Stop Ticking in Spanish. He said, that's global rock at work on the radio in Latin America. A huge hit down there. He said, that's global rock making money on the radio before the show's out. He also said, when Amy and Alina Anthony, they're stars in Pakistan and India and Bangladesh, they cut the exact same song, Clock Stop Ticking. He said, that's global rock at work on the radio making money right now, too. So he was right. These are artists that we know from global rock. Yeah, Johnny?
Yeah.
Whether it's Janie Kirk cutting songs or whether it's, Amia Bag in Pakistan cutting the same song or whether Sam Menez doing Pretty Penny.
Boy, it's the best from every country.
Yeah, I mean, so
Sure sounds like a little United Nations all wrapped up in one amazing band.
Well, I think the reason that I have 65 songs that I've written I've written 65 songs that are out this week that other artists are covering Tony King songs. I think if you look at Emmylou Harris cutting a song called Prayer Row with Nicky Hopkins with Barbara Coward, I think that's a testament. I think she thinks that she might be seen in China because that same song is being cut by Julie and Amia Bag in Pakistan. So that's 2 billion people in China. 2 billion people in India and Pakistan, and then 500 million people in America and England, where Emily Harris is famous. But also, you can't overlook Sam Menez. He's a big young Sony star in Latin America. He's 21, but he cut 30 pennies that had did on a clock stop ticking. So again, whether Liz Clark cutting Bird in a Cage, or whether it's the Jorgensen cutting Clock Stop Ticking, or Dwayne Waiter from the band Dirty Water. I love that dirty water. He cut that. He's famous for the Sandelis, or Tommy Keystone cut it. What's interesting is that I think what happens is if you have a big hit record in Latin America, like I had a big hit record with Clock Stop Ticking, but what he's talking, the kids in Pakistan and the guy in India, they cut it because they see you're hot in Latin America. Don't forget, Phil, there's almost 1 billion people in Latin America. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Absolutely.
And then there's 2 billion people in India and Pakistan and Eurasia. And then in China, there's 2. So that's 5 billion people. My music has been heard of. Just one song by 5, and then Europe, America, and then Canada, and then Australia. That's like 8 billion people that heard the Clock Stop Ticking. That's a pretty good run,
Sounds like it.
So, I mean, to have multiple songs cut by multiple artists in multiple countries, that is a testament, not to me. It's a testament to global rock working. Would you add anything to that, Johnny?
Yeah, that's exactly right, man. We're smoking here. I can't wait till this comes out. We're going to start recording that when, and how soon is that going to happen?
We're going to start recording in January of 2022.
All right, we'll be looking forward to that.
So, I mean, again, yeah, I mean, I'm very excited. But I got to tell you, I'm excited. I'm excited like that 15-year-old kid in Detroit. The fact that I'm working with 2 of the greatest rockers in American history, that's exciting. You know what I'm saying, Phil, for me?
Sure. Okay. Now, Tony, if you could tell the audience here that's watching, listening, etc., where they can find your book and how to get your book, that would be great.
Okay, you can get Tony King's Living Rock Music History on Amazon for $5.79.
That is a great bargain at any price there, I'm sure.
And, you can get that, and you can go to our website, globalrockmusic.com. You can find out about Global Rock. You can find all about Kings and Queens. You can go to our management website, Sam Entertainment, and they're going to have of the people that are going to buy tickets for the Nashville shows are going to sell out, all 3 of them. And
Okay.
we're doing a big outdoor show. So what we're doing, we're taking all the dates that we had in America and like kicking off with the Nashville shows on October 6th. Don't forget, we're doing a Flint benefit concert on November 26th. Now, what we're going to do in Flint, the promoter called me about an hour before we went on air. We're going to move that and probably into February of 2022 because of COVID concerns. So we're doing a massive benefit for the victims of the Flint water care crisis. So that's going to be a big thing. And look for Neil Young and John Mellencamp on that bill. But yeah, so what we're doing, we're going to kick off the Kings and Queens Return of the Mayflower to the United Kingdom floor. So we're going to kick off our first date in London on 20th of October.
Okay, that sounds great. Ed, any other things that you might want to mention to our audience here of any projects beside the Kings and Queens, mainly the Kings and Queens here that you have going for you at the moment, that people can find your music and so forth? Or right now we just say Kings and Queens it is, and
Yep, I'm waiting to go.
okay. And Johnny, how about you? Any projects that you would like to mention to our audience while we have everybody very attentively listening?
September 1st, we'll be everywhere.
Johnny, you want to tell us about your book?
Yeah, I got stories about the Beatles, Albert Einstein. I mean, how's he be the drummer for the Eagles? I got stories about everybody. Eric Clapton, Linda Ronstadt, Rita Coolidge. I mean, Joni Mitchell, Ry Cooder.
What a catalog there, Johnny. Just it's amazing catalog sounds, definitely.
And so that comes out on September 1st, John?
Yeah.
Right around the corner. Right around the corner.
The legendary life of a rock star. They're filled with great photos to you, Jeff.
What's that again? What?
They're filled with great photos, Jeff.
Oh, yes. Every day and all this kind of stuff in there, yeah.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, so all the young women around the world that see John Barbetta and King, they go, "Damn, is that guy single?" John looks like he's 40 years old. You know, so Ed
Okay,
Green,
hey, well, he keeps himself fit and keeps himself young.
But Ed Green is also in tip-top shape, I might add. All the young women see that, they're like, "He's single too. You got 2 single guys." They're like, so This is
I'm in Hell Street. I'm in Hell Street, right?
so is that. Ed works out every day. So everybody's in tip-top shape. This is a great young rock band. That's how it's. It's a great young rock band.
Mean music machine, as they say, huh? The mean music machine.
Yeah. I mean, don't forget we have a 24-year-old singer, Bethany Buller Harris, and Jenny Kirkman is very young. So
well, break all the generation gaps there. That's all. Bring the young people in.
We'll do that. All right, Phil, I'm going to tell your listeners to buy Tony King's Living Rock Music History, now on Amazon for $5.79. Own it today before it goes into second printing. I believe it'll go up in price when it arrives at Walmart and Walgreens and Dollar Tree and Dollar General. But also get Johnny Barbados' book on September 1st, Legendary Life of a Rockstar Drummer. And by the way, I hear through the grapevine that Edward Green is working on his own book. So Ed will have a book out in 2022 also. Go
Okay.
ahead. So,
Global Rock International.
Yeah, I mean, there you have it.
Okay.
All right,
So I would like to thank, in no particular order, but yes, in a particular order, I'd like to thank Ed Green. I would like to thank Johnny Barbados and tonight's special guest, Tony King. And thank you, all of you, for joining me. And hopefully we will hear such great things about this tour, about your books, and all the music that is about to be set upon the music world of rock and roll. So thank you all for joining me here, and everybody joining us in the audience. A big thank you for tuning in.
John, you want to write a new song? Okay, I got an idea. Hey, baby, gonna rock it tonight without you. Without me, we're gonna rock it tonight. Gonna rock it, yeah, we're gonna rock it just you. And me, we're gonna rock it tonight. You want to add a line to that, Ed?
Okay.
I hear it, John. A little on the highway.
Okay.
That's it, my way. Because you and me, we're gonna rock it tonight. Gonna rock it, yeah, we're gonna take it, Edward. We're gonna take it, John, right there. Well, Jay, Duncan, we're gonna rock it tonight. A new song on the spot. That's what we do, right song.
Okay.
All right.
So
Okay. All right, guys, thank you. We'll go out
thank
with-
you both, and thank you, Ed. And it's been a nice one, and we can call it a wrap here. And everybody, make sure
We're
you
gonna rock it tonight.
that's right. Everybody rock and roll.
We're gonna rock it, Philip Oscar. We're gonna rock it tonight. I bet John Oates doesn't write this song on the air with you like we just did he?
No, actually, I said we just did a nice little talk for about 5 minutes or so, and then he cut us a nice liner for us. So.
Johnny or Willow or Jane or Doug, we're gonna run a new song on the air like we just did, Rock the Night live, and to your audience worldwide.
Hey, well, maybe that was a sneak preview of Global Rock in its own right. So
That's what it is.
collaboration there, Collaboration Nation. Okay.
Good. God bless, Dad. God bless, Dad.
Thank you guys, and it's been a great one. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Everybody, this has been a wonderful time for SOGT Radio YouTube, and we wish you all a good night and a great remainder of your week.
Okay.